Hey.
You are live. The internet can totally see you now. So stop. Use your encoder. That's the message I get, folks.
Good save.
What is going on, everybody? We're back. We had a block of summer vacation set up. We apologize to those, that are true to the cause and tune in every week, and you had no idea what to do with your Wednesday night. Apologies, but here we are, and this somber moment that we cut the cellophane from the last box, that you pull out that first stack, cut that cellophane off, and you use an X-Acto and you cut through the first two cards, and it doesn't matter because you only need one of that card anyway. But here we are. We're going to talk about Reign and Reverie and the Anarh set. For those people that don't have this, that's what it looks like if you don't have it.
Thanks, Vanna.
Can I see the back?
Can you?
Awesome. What's the recommended Fantasy Flight sleeve count on that?
That is a FFG Gray 4 protective card sleeves.
Jeez, 4 gray.
89 corporation cards, 67 runner cards, and 1 rules insert. It doesn't say what you need to sleeve the rules insert in. Sorry.
I'm gonna say the price is $129.99 according to eBay.
Yeah.
That's the MSRP.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. For those people, we're gonna talk about these cards for. Are you playing Prices Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the model thing I was
That's why Alec. Hollis was shouting out the starting bid.
Yeah.
So for those people that haven't shelled out over $100 to get it on eBay, because some people have decided to throw that up and make a buck or two in times of need, we're going to talk about cards that possibly you might not have. Possibly you might get in the future at your local yard sale in a couple years. But let's jump into this. Here we are at... Who's going to break this one down?
David, why don't you hand me our first card?
Okay, it's Nathaniel NAT Hall. Here you go.
All right, thanks. All right. Got it. All right, yeah, check this guy out. He's adorable. He is a Anarh runner, 40 card, 0 link, 15 influence. And he's got a little bit of cool text that says, when your turn begins, gain 1 credit if you have 2 or fewer cards in your grip. And I gotta add, he's got some pretty fly flavor text in Damn, I'm good.
I say that every morning when I get out of the shower. I don't know why. I don't know why.
And you gain a credit.
I'm just like, man, look at where does money come from?
Very nice. So, guys, Nat here is our 40 card Anarh runner, which under specific conditions can get a little money. Are these things doing enough to make this a runner that you are excited about?
I'm glad to see that they actually kept the tradition alive and put a 40 card runner into Anarh. So that was nice. The circle is now complete. IDs that usually give you money are somewhat interesting and worth a look. I think that this guy, there's no shortage of powerful Anarh cards. So having 40 cards in there is, could be detrimental. But, I'm from a purely competitive space. He's got some big runners to go up against, and I'm not sure if he can totally dethrone the queen right now.
Yeah, it turns out a credit every run oftentimes adds up to more than one normal credit. So yeah, the comparison is tough. I think Nat fills an interesting space where he's better equipped to take advantage of some of the synergies with cards that we're going to see later on in this set that maybe Val is not quite as equipped to. I also think if you have a very specific Anarch combo, that he's going to allow you to get to it faster. And if either of those things is appealing to you, then I say give him a go. But you're right; it's very stiff competition.
Yep. Hey, can I have the card back?
Oh yeah, here you go. There you go. Got it. Nice.
So yeah, that's pretty fun. I mean, the keeping 2 cards in hand part becomes a lot easier with a card that we'll see later this pack. But essentially, I know I've seen a lot of people, fight really hard to make sure they get a daily cast down, or they get a data folding or something like that onto the board. And with him, you just automatically get that. You have to play a little more risky, which I saw someone describe as, which makes sense because he has small childlike hands. Hold as many cards.
I dig that.
Yeah, I mean,
I dig that.
Fire his ability 5 or 6 times a game over like a 15-turn game. That's probably enough to warrant that, plus a 40-card deck's probably enough to warrant playing him.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, this isn't a like you want to fire it every single turn to make sure that it works. It's not like a Kate ability where you constantly want it every turn because it's everything you do. It's just a nice little, hey, if you can meet this and you're just setting up still, you get an extra credit just for your time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's nothing crazy. I'm not really gonna rewrite the history books or anything, but yeah, pretty good.
Little guy.
Yeah, little guy. He looks like a little baby Justin Guarini. Look at him.
Whoa, you know who Justin Guarini is? My boy. Yeah, you're right. No, it does. No, he does.
Yeah, look at
Man,
him.
we're talking about first season American Idol right here.
Yeah, I mean, he's fun. You get to try out some new stuff and play a little different style. So yeah, I dig it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I do agree with you that he is very risky. The nature of the ability when you have 2 or fewer cards in hand, even having protection, like I hate to even having protection, like in the Anarch faction, the difficulty here of always only keeping 2 cards makes the playstyle really rigid. Because I imagine there's turns where if you try to play Nat, you end up in these situations where you're like, well, I have 3 cards in hand. Maybe I should play one, but I kind of want to draw. It's better to draw early. So it's like, well, I want to make sure I don't, draw too much in the beginning of my turn. So that now I'm forced to play so many cards, and now this is a much harder ability to use. It's just weird. It feels very awkward, I think, in some parts of the game to be able to actually make sure you only keep 2 or fewer cards in your hand. But maybe that's just the point. Maybe you're just meant to. Sometimes you just don't gain the ability, and you just take the cards. When you need cards, you need them.
Yeah. I mean, worst case, you play something like you play a 1 or 2 bookmark.
Right.
You got a bunch of cards in hand. You're like, well, I want these, but I don't need them yet. Let me just dash them here, and I'll get them later.
You could also play a bunch of stim hacks and just take the brain happily and go down to a 2-hand size. Yeah.
Only have a 2-hand size anyway, and I've gained 27 credits to do stuff with.
Right.
Yeah, and especially I don't really think again that you're really worried about that 40 card deck size playing this guy because Anarch has all the tools, right? Like you look at their breaker suite is still the trash breakers, right? We're still talking Orchestra, MK Ultra, and Paperclip, and being able to just play that off your discards when you're dealing with an ability like this to pull from there, so you don't have to hold them in your hand or to rush to get them out, right? Like discard them off or whatever they are, and it just plays so well with his style. You could probably play or build a Nat deck, and he's the only new card from Reign and Reverie. I mean, Anarch still has such a powerful in-play suite to mess with. I think that this is interesting, but I'd be a little bit weary right now because we're seeing damage become more prevalent again. Scorpios is kind of, still such a good chunk. So be weary. When playing that, being that 40 card deck, Alec, you already talked about the speed that you can maybe see those combos together or the cards you need. So if you can get set up and get rolling and being able to apply that pressure and put a kill corp deck back on its heels, and apply that constant pressure that they can't maybe see the pieces that they need, or you're just reacting and you're moving too quickly and they're trying to defend against those openings. He could give he could give a good run. And I think he could be something, but I still think if you're going into a heavy competition, a heavy top tier tournament, you're probably still looking at what Val can do for you over this guy. But I respect the change and the variety that he brings into Anarch at the end here.
Yeah. As far as deck building goes in a competitive sense, David and I have been trying to put together a Nat deck, or at least we've been brainstorming one recently. And one of the problems that we just keep running into, which if you're out there building a Nat deck, you're going to have to deal with, is how to combat one of the best corp cards in the game right now, and that is Obokata Protocol. What is your answer? Are you running Film Critic? Are you running Imp? Are you just prepared to miss your ability a couple turns to try and get your draws in there, and then you tank the damage? It's just not very easy to answer, and unfortunately, from experience, I've run into situations where I'm on those two cards, maybe I draw to 3, then I run, I find an Obokata, I'm like, dang it. It just puts you at a really big disadvantage trying to deal with that card specifically, and we're going to be seeing it everywhere for the foreseeable future. So just think about what solutions you could include.
I kind of wish that... Well, the card that jumped in my head immediately, just thinking about old school, right, was like things like Personal Workshop. Where, like, back in the day, this would have been awesome, right? Because you would have been able to say, okay, I can have programs and other items or other cards, that obviously aren't events, and just dump them for a bit. And you in that way you could play fast and loose and allow yourself to overdraw, because that no matter what, if you did overdraw, there was no like, I'm just going to drain my credit pool right now. I can just say, look, I'm investing all of my cards kind of here, and because I'm playing fast and loose with a few cards in my hand, yeah, I'm still weak to things like Obokata. Yeah, I'm still weak to things like Snare and so on and so forth, but I've got this Personal Workshop here giving me this benefit. And then it would have comboed well with Stim Hack still being, of course, being in faction. But we all know that was, like, amazingly strong. Also, I feel like just inherently with his ability, that's something just to discuss, it's really interesting, right? Even if I don't even think about the Personal Workshop aspect of it, and my mic is here, and my camera's there. Even if I don't think about the Personal Workshop aspect that can't happen, there's something really cool about, like, knowing that you're going to reduce your hand size anyway. Just Stim Hack. If you're going to reduce your hand size anyway, and you're already going to play in a way that's conducive to you just lowering your hand size as often as possible, I feel like he's the kind of runner where you do go balls to the wall, and you can just say, all right, you know what, I need to get in right now. Stim Hack. My hand size reduced to 4, so what? I'm trying to keep it at 2 anyways. Who cares? I'll play the other protection cards, like you said, the Film Critics, anything else that helps me prevent net damage and meat damage. So, I don't know. He's neat, though.
I think Stim Hack is one of the most meta runner cards these days, and any excuse to run it is a good reason.
Yeah, but like I say, watch yourself, because, Alec, you talked on it. Obokata is incredibly deadly here, and also from the fact that Obokata is obviously an agenda and can't be moved out of faction, and that plays into the prevalence that is going to be Jinteki now. Well, I don't want to hit any spoilers, but you look at that new Jinteki ID, and I think that is a force to be reckoned with going forward. That thing is incredibly deadly, and I would say could be one of my almost top picks to be the closing world champion deck right there for Corporation.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Big predictions.
You making
coming out of
predictions, boys.
Episode 1.
Is it getting hot in here? With all these
Oh,
hot takes?
boy.
I really like that that Jinteki ID. I think there's going to be a lot of people experimenting and playing with that, and there's some fun to be had there.
Cool, cool.
All right, let's hit the next guy up.
Alrighty, this next one is pretty spicy. Anarchs, give a listen to Divide and Conquer. This is an event run, 3 cost, 4 influence for the Anarchs, and it says make a run on archives. If successful, after accessing archives, then access 1 card from HQ, then access the top card of R&D. And for all those folks out there who immediately jump to, well, how does this interact with Turning Wheel? Good question. Because Turning Wheel says whenever you make a run on HQ or R&D, you get to access an additional card for HQ or R&D. You actually get both. So if you've spent 2 Turning Wheel counters, you're getting 2 cards from HQ and 2 cards from R&D, plus accessing archives.
That's cool.
So yeah, pretty sweet, and I love that it further emphasizes Anarch's focus on archives as
finally,
right? In a really threatening way, like in a seriously threatening way, where a corp is not gonna ice up archives most of the time, and you're like, cool, I'll bounce off your centrals all day with Turning Wheel, and oh, guess what? Divide and Conquer, access 1 million cards. I think that's pretty impressive.
I think a multi-access archive card has been a long time coming.
Mm-hmm.
Giving this into Anarch, you talk about all of the goodness it has with the Turning Wheel. This card is bananas, pure bananas. And we've never seen multi-access like this before. Stacking that much up in one run is this to me is I don't even have anything to. I'm blanking on metaphors. That's how good it is. This is the seal of approval from myself of card of the Anarchs right here from this pack.
Wow.
This is the top Anarch card in Reign and Reverie.
So I did not know that that's how that worked with Turning Wheel.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's honestly sneak door beta for an event, but you still get to access archives.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really nothing bad I can possibly say about this card. It's really good. It's worth 4 influence. It's worth paying 3 for. It's their version of Legwork or Maker's Eye. To
Mm-hmm.
get a little peek of both. Honestly, even without the Turning Wheel, just being able to say, okay, well, I only got enough money to do 1 run. Let's just check archives. Maybe we'll trigger a couple of my like run abilities for the turn, like get a data center counter or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we also take a swipe at HQ and check out the top card. Maybe you top deck something, maybe you don't. I played this total of 5 times now. But actually physically played the card. A couple times as Ed Kim, and I miss an operation on R&D. I hit one out of HQ. I'm like, oh, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you'll play it and with Alice, and you'll run and you get to smack a card out of HQ with Alice. Then you access the card that you smacked out of the hand. Then you access another card from HQ and the top card of R&D. So man, all the abilities are just churning. They're all they fit together and it all works together. This is one of the cards where like you don't need other cards to make it good, but when you play other good cards, it gets better.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a huge fan. It's I think,
Dave,
I
can you
think James just hit it perfect.
can you what about the comparison between legwork and Maker's Eye in this? Do you think it needed to have that extra cost and stuff associated with this, or would you still say that those are even more powerful than this? Or
I mean, in a vacuum, if we're just the card, I mean, I think Maker's Eye is probably the strongest. I mean, honestly, this is probably the weakest, because the strength of Maker's Eye and legwork is that you don't know what's on top usually, and you don't know what's in their hand, and you get to see multiple things at a time, and you get more value to get through all the ice and everything in one run. This, you're basically paying 3 credits for a single exit for a vanilla run on HQ, vanilla run on R&D, and then checking archives. But you get to do it in one click. So technically, you know, if you think about it, you got legwork is just 3 HQ runs at once. Maker's Eye is just 3 R&D runs at once. This is a run on all 3 once, essentially, is what you're getting. But you don't get to see multiple things. So if you got 5 cards in HQ, one of them's an agenda, you're less likely to hit it with this, but you get more of a variety. So.
Yeah, because this also costs a credit more.
Yeah, I think it costs a credit more. I think that's totally worth it. It's totally deserves that cost. Honestly, for 4, this is still probably worth playing.
And I think the influence is, this is double a legwork and 1 more than a Maker's Eye. Yeah.
No, Maker's Eye's 2.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Maker's Eye.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's costed and influence priced to be better than those cards. I think it's obvious. I mean, I play Anarch all the time, so I mean, obviously, I think it's better because I don't have to splash for it. But
that is big, right? Because usually you got to think about in Anarch, what's your multi-access package going to be? Are you going to get one of these big run events, or do you go with Turning Wheel? And now it's like, well, shoot, Turning Wheel has way more value, and I get this card influence free. That seems like a pretty good deal as far as building an Anarch deck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
No, I mean, I'm never gonna run out of good things to say about this card. It's one of those, like, it's good, play it, like 1, 2, 3, yeah, but it works at all levels. So
It just, I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like so many people were including. There were enough decks sort of rationalizing the inclusion of Turning Wheel anyway. And then you look at, like, the prevalence of cards like Maker's Eye and deep data mining as a means to deep dig R&D, and this just seems to say, like, it just double down. Like, you can even, I can see a lot of instances where people, instead of, like, deciding to influence in the deep data mining and influence in the Maker's Eye, they just say, screw it, I'll just run this and Turning Wheel. I'll double, triple dip. Like, it's just, I might as well run this, because deep data mining, while huge, right, is 3. So there's a lot of, like, hey, screw it, just run this instead and hit HQ, hit R&D, use your counters on Turning Wheel, access 2 cards from each, which seems great.
Oh man, does this give you extra cards from Obelisk as well? And as pointed out in our chat by Joshua, turtle counters, multiple turtle counters.
Oh,
also
God.
Nice.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Almakua.
What is happening?
Yeah, scary. Yeah, it seems good all around.
Yeah. This is going to do some deadly work inside of Anarch, and I think this is auto-include, at least.
Oh, man. I'm mad.
Sweet.
This card is good as hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
All right. Shall we move on to a card that might prove a little more controversial?
Oh, boy.
Sure.
All right. Let me know, is Guinea Pig an auto-include for Anarch? It seems like a lot of value. It's a 4-cost event, 3 influence, and it gains you 10 credits, but you also have to trash your grip. The flavor text says it's worth it. But I'll ask you, Hollis. Hollis, you start this one off. Is Guinea Pig worth it?
Like, what has happened? Like, so gain 6 credits, but lose your hand? Hold on one second while I Jordy LaForge this. Like, I just don't. I I don't think so. I don't think. I mean, like, even if you look at Nat, right? Like, Nat is the one that wants to play this, and even then, I think that's not great. The recovery required in cards are straight up options. They're the plan of what you do next a lot of the time, right? Obviously, like you know that you have XYZ. Hey, you know that you've got this divide and conquer in your hand, and you need credits to be able to use it. So why would you want to trash it when you can just gain money another? I mean, it just seems. And 6 credits.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what's funny. Let me ask you this. This is the hard question.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you lose your entire hand, you're gonna lose clicks drawing. Do you think this card is worth it if it straight up gains you 10 credits for this ability? Right?
Yeah.
Straight up gain you.
Look at me. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Straight up gain you. Yeah, right. So straight up gain you 10 credits.
Other side hauls.
Oh god. I don't know. But see, like, you start doing the math. The more I do it, you start doing the math. It's like, all right, so again, this is the kind of thing I like doing with some of these cards whenever I talk about the effectiveness or the efficiency of, like, if it's worth it. Like, take the number they have, right? Take 6. And then now, in this case, like, start adding a +1. So it's like, all right, is 7 worth it? Nah. 8 worth it? Well, 9 worth it? Okay, now we're talking, because Stem Hat gains you 9.
Mm-hmm.
But you take a brain. But it's a straight 9 credits for the run. This is 9 credit, and 9 would be, okay, straight credits to my pool, but no hand. I have to use some finesse. At 10 credits, you're like, you know what? That's playable. I'll find a way.
Mm-hmm.
I'll find a way so that I can drop my hand, play Nat, and then gain 10 credits as a huge boost right now. But this just seems like not great at all. It just seems no. Sorry. 6 credits. I'm sorry. I'm done. Just 6? That's it?
Yeah, but the threshold is 4. Like, that to me is the standout part of this card. Whereas something like liberated accounts, you need to get to 6 credits, and then you can drop liberated accounts, go up to, et cetera, et cetera. This, you can do it at a threshold of 4.
Hollis.
Oh, summer child.
You beautiful man. Let me tell you what you're missing on Guinea Pig right now.
Okay, I'm ready.
Got the real Anarch in the room. Okay.
All right. So, you're playing Nat.
Embrace the chaos.
What's the best Anarch strategy in the game right now? Find vengeance, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So you want to self-damage yourself, right? It's great. If only there was a card that's synergized with having no cards in hand that might also do a damage to you. Are we talking about our friend? I don't have it in front of me. It's killing me. Reciprocites. Let's talk about it. I got a reciprocites on the board, right? I'm gonna play a Guinea Pig. I'm gonna trash the other maybe 3 cards in my hand. Right? Let's say I have a Guinea Pig and nothing else, and like whatever in my hand, some garbage card like Dirty Laundry or something. And I play the Guinea Pig. Right, I throw the garbage away. I gain 6 credits, and whatever reciprocites I have is gonna start cycling my deck for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is the match that starts the chain reaction that starts triggering all of your abilities. Because how many times have you played like reciprocites in a deck and you're just like, I'm just gonna play this because it costs 0, and it's gonna do me damage, and that's all it's gonna do. Start getting value from that thing, man. Start getting rid of your cards so you can start drawing. It costs 0. It's gonna draw you 3 cards, and you're gonna make $6. What are you talking about? It's great.
Wow, value.
But it's only good in that situation. So let's think about this, right? The biggest comparison for this card I have is let's play the next card, right? Little spoiler for the next card. If you're playing the next card in this pack with this card, you're going to start getting 8.
Mm-hmm.
Is 8 worth it? Because if you don't think 8's worth it, then you probably don't think liberated account's very good. Liberated account, you're going to spend 5 clicks to gain a net of 10. Guinea Pig plus the next card, you're spending 1 click and your hand, granted, to get 8 now. You get a full day job with a combo with the next card, which the next card's pretty good too. in one click. If you're just setting up and you have your heat breakers in your hand, plus other garbage cards in there, just toss them out. Get the money now, then just keep on drawing.
So that ties into you brought up before you go too far down and steal all the thunder.
No.
I think where I go to compare this stuff is yes, I think that in the right circumstance, Guinea Pig is great to have. Everyone talks about some of the synergies that it can do. If you have these heat breakers, the bin breakers, whatever, if you're a clip player and you have your, Levy AR access and you have all of your recursion or whatever you're doing and everything's perfect. But the problem is that when I need money, I'm not going to have the most optimal hand to pitch. I just want to play my econ cards and get money from it. There's going to be times when you're going to have Guinea Pig in your hand and you're going to wish that it was one of 5 or 6 other different econ cards. And to me, it's not only about pitching the card and do you have a plan to get it back, but it's how are you reestablishing your hand size over those next couple clicks or getting that draw back up working to see stuff. So to me, in those situations, maybe I would just rather burn my turn and do a day job rather than pitch everything else. Or I know it's neutral influence, but even Lucky Find compared to this, right, where all I'm doing is getting a return off the extra clicks that I'm burning, and I would rather do that because I can do that at any time. And clicks are probably something that I'm able to throw away in a no-brainer situation in the moment to get that money that I need, rather than think about how I'm going to change my next couple turns because I need this economy now and I'm going to have to pitch my whole hand for it, or getting set up for an optimal moment to pitch my whole hand to get that econ. I want econ when I want it, not when it's this card is telling me it's favorable for me to play it or my whole combo setup.
To me, I think that last bit is exactly it. If you are running an Anarch deck where it benefits you to hold certain cards in hand and wait for the opportunity, like Divide and Conquer, like Apocalypse, Run Amok, even DDoS, whatever surprise you want to spring on the corp that maybe you want to be holding in hand until the right moment, then Guinea Pig seems like a really bad include in a deck like that, where you also have those cards. Because they're going to compete for your hand, and at some point you're going to have to sacrifice one for another. But if, like David's suggesting, you're running a deck where you could care less what's in your hand, and all of those cards are fungible, particularly to Patchwork, it's like, you might as well, because you're getting a good deal, and you could take even more advantageous synergisticness on top of that. So I don't think it goes in every Anarch deck. But for the Anarch decks that are already running those synergies and have nice card draw options or self-damage options, I'd say give this one a look.
Yeah. We also haven't mentioned Emptied Mind at all yet, and we have a deck of a guy that doesn't really want a whole lot of cards in his hand. It also just, if you're not going to do anything else and you're just going to do some board setup and the last thing you do is play Guinea Pig, you're going to gain 6, and next turn you're going to gain a click, which you're going to use to then have to draw more cards, but you're still going to gain that action. So
you could use 4 of those 5 clicks on a Duggars and then draw 10 cards. Problem solved.
Yeah,
problem solved. Yeah, makes sense.
And the 5th click, play another Guinea Pig to throw those cards away.
Screw those cards.
All right, there you go.
Niche,
interesting. Yeah. Should we get to the good stuff?
Yeah.
Get to the creme de la creme. Probably for my money, I'm gonna put my hot take down as this is the best in our card.
This was it was hard for me, but this is close.
I think this is so good.
Patchwork
because
was here.
Here it is. Patchwork is a hardware console for install 3 influence. Not cheap. You get one in you. That's nice. But really, we're all here for the ability.
Yeah.
Which is once per turn. When you would play or install a card, you may trash 1 card from your grip to lower the play or install cost by 2. This is bananas, right? In practice, this feels like the sweetest thing in the world. You're like, oh, cool.
Uh-oh, he said in practice.
I want to play a sure gamble. Done. Oh, I want a free dirty laundry. Let me throw away my Black Orchestra. Done. Oh, it's liberated accounts. 6 credits seems a little much. Let's get it for 4. Every turn. I feel like you're going to get this pretty much every turn. It gets you down to reasonable credit thresholds. It's just money. It's just such money.
It's 2 credits worth of money a turn.
Mm-hmm. That synergizes with cards you're already planning on running, right?
Pretty sick.
Yeah, see, the difference in Alec and me is Alec will talk about good cards when he's describing something. Everybody's like, yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't.
Sorry.
All right, so Hollis, same question. We just talked about Guinea Pig, where you're throwing your whole hand away. Are you okay with selectively throwing a card away to gain essentially a career fair or a modded every turn?
Yes. Yes, I am. I think that's better. Now, I actually agree with you. I think that obviously Patchwork synergizes better with a card like Guinea Pig, but now it's to the point where I think about like how if I look at Patchwork, I'm going clearly. I know that the cards are there to support Patchwork being used, right? The bin breakers or whatever. And then the added benefit is, okay, well, what about duplicates? What about the second or third Patchwork? Or the second or third paperclip, or so on and so forth. What I like more about Patchwork compared to Guinea Pig is that because I get to choose the trash. A sec. Make sure it doesn't say randomly. No, yeah. Because I get to choose the trash, it means that there's this very like controlled space I have to where now, in a weird way, to an extent, overdrawing is sort of encouraged in a weird way, right? You could actually overdraw and say, okay, in this instance, I know that I've got, the extra Patchwork and a paperclip. So I know that now for 2 turns, as long as this card's in play, I can do something like you said, Dave. Play liberated accounts. I'll trash this paperclip this time, and now because I can only really get that benefit once every so and so, I won't trash this card. Right now, I overdrew. My hand went from 7 to 5, so my hand's even now. Next turn, let's overdraw again. Now I'll trash the second Patchwork, play another card at a discount, and just helps generate that value for all the duplicates in your deck. Correct me if I'm wrong, there's already a card. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like this is one of the best aspects of Netrunner. Like it's always been the case where if you take existing cards that are duplicates that at the time after they serve their purpose of allowing you to see it early, if you can just make that and generate a revenue, it's bonkers. And that's all this is just bonkers revenue. 2 credits for duplicates that you're running that you're not gonna run. You know what I mean? Like it's just insane.
Yeah. No, that was gonna be my next point. Is talking about the second Patchwork that you draw is gain 2 credits when you do a thing.
Yeah.
It also works during a run. If I make a run, Alec reses an ice wall, I can trash a card from my hand to install my paperclip for 2.
Oh,
that's good.
Oh, so, value.
Yeah. So
value.
Also, if you have something expensive, which I've done this before, I've had a liberated in hand. Don't really have. I only have like 3 or 4 credits. I'm like, well, I need to get money going. You trash the liberated, you install daily casts for 1. You immediately start trickling in money. So the amount of options that you get.
Yep.
Even if this isn't like everybody says is the best Anarh console now, or this is the deck you play, just playing this card adds so much extra maneuverability to your economy when you're playing. By playing a 3 of console, instead of just like, oh, well, if I get it, I cool, if not, whatever. Having the extra MU all the time lets you really reconfigure how you want to build your deck. Because you're not always, well, I'm only going to have 4 MU, and then sometimes I get this console. We're going to see a whole extra tier of decks that are going to come out. They're going to be like, well, I can do this program synergy, and I can play this extra support, all these extra support things because I have the extra MU to hold it. It's fantastic. I would say that for me, this is probably a little better than Divide and Conquer, just because the amount of fun little decisions that you get to make tickle your brain just enough, where it's everything you're doing is a positive outcome for you, and it gives you every single turn a cool little, ooh, I can do this and I can do this. It gets my brain working a little bit faster. It gives me an exciting thing to do on my turn rather than just standard actions and runs and whatnot. So definite thumbs up.
I think from my perspective I'll defend my top choice is where I said that Divide and Conquer. So I think Divide and Conquer is my best Anarch card from this pack because I feel I judge that based on the fact that I feel it could fit in every Anarch build as a solid in-faction multi-access card. The issue I have with Patchwork is that I would be in that back and forth struggle that I don't think it is an auto-include console in every Anarch build. So that's why I say that it kind of, from a pack, cards in the pack perspective, it slots just underneath. I have no problem with the cost. I've paid more in the past for consoles that were beefier than 4 credits, and especially if you're paying 4 credits for something that is generating you or saving you economy. So that's easily offset on a return on investment kind of thing. I think that it's a really powerful ability. Like if you remember, we all saw what random discards can do in Anarch. So Anarch already can play with cards from the trash very, very easily. Look at what Max, you had to trash a card off the top to draw cards. So now you're able to pick. Like when you can, once per turn, when you have a May condition there, and you get to choose the card that is being trashed, I think that's so incredibly powerful inside this faction. But like I said, I just don't see it being the go-to powerhouse console. Zero is still struggling for top spot for me right now, and especially some builds I'm actually seeing people pulling turntable out, going throwback for what that can do now against some of these court builds that are coming out. So Patchwork, yes, really, really awesome, really unique, really cool economy saver. I dig it. I just don't see it as well as I don't know why I'm fighting an event for a console, but I feel like I really needed to justify my card of the pack there. But
did you like my set? I kind of softballed that one in there for you.
Yeah.
All right,
nice.
Dropped it down.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how it moves for me. Those reasons, I do think it's an awesome card, and for cost, getting an MU, great. And 3 influence for me this day and age is not past the realm of experimenting with it outside of faction, right? So. It is interesting, right? So some of those decks that were splashing career fare before, to target things, could look to save money on some Patchwork with some easily or some ways to kind of bounce influence around.
I am not sure if this is related to us or just YouTube, but people in chat are saying our sound went out for a minute entirely, and now it's super desynced with what? Yeah. They said it's been out of sync for a minute, but now it's even worse because somehow the entire audio stopped for everybody for like a couple seconds.
We can always blame YouTube for that.
Do we want to just take like a 5-second silence to see if it catches up? All right, any better?
Maybe, who knows?
Chat,
1,
did
2,
it improve?
3.
Oh god. Yeah, the clap. Yeah.
Did anyone have
Sorry.
anything else on Patchwork? Hollis, did you say your piece?
I said my piece.
Okay.
I think you and David killed it. I think this card is nuts. This card is nuts.
Yeah.
It's bunk.
All right, let's hit the next one.
Excellent. So let's get to a card that some folks were talking about a lot that I think is going to be kind of controversial. This is the Hijack Router. It's unique. Hardware install 2, influence 2, and it says whenever the corp creates a server, he or she loses 1 credit. Oh god. And then also, whenever you make a successful run on archives, you may trash Hijack Router to force the corp to lose 3 credits.
Man.
Take it away, Alec.
Well, here's the deal with Hijack Router. As someone who doesn't care for asset spam all that much, this sounds like a sweet deal, right? You put it down, you're taxing the corp, you're losing money, these are all good things. Unfortunately, I don't love the Hijack Router, and it's for this reason. The point in the game when the corp is going to do the most damage with asset spam are the first few turns. And in order for you to have this card online in the first few turns, you need to be running like 3 copies of it. And I just don't know if it's good in multiples. It's unique, so you draw a second one. Yeah, you could get the archives trigger to make him lose 3, then you got to install another one, so it's back on the board. It's just like a lot of work.
I won't need to say anything else because I agree with your whole train of thought. And and that was exactly the point where I was going to make about when you want to play this card. But I want to interject and just say, and is that really what you want to do that early in the game? Is already you want to play as a runner defensively? Right. So there's way better use of your opening turns than trying to get your hijacked routers in hand and trying to at least keep one of them on the board. If that is your game plan, you might as well have already just thrown in the towel.
Yep.
It costs 0 with Patchwork, though.
Okay.
All right, so I've been playing this card in our Netrunner League games.
Of course you have.
Somebody was going to be playing controlling the message. So I actually thought about this episode, and I'm like, this is going to be a really good point I'm going to make. So I played a 2-of in this in a Valencia deck, and I've triggered this ability 1 time because I had a whole bunch of money. The corp had, I think, 5 credits. I installed it, I ran, got it down to 2. It was all right. Didn't really matter. Didn't really change the game. One of the games was against the build a whole bunch of remotes deck, and I have a 2-of 50 card deck. Never saw it. So that's kind of my thing on it. I do compare it directly because it matches almost exactly with Astrolabe. Astrolabe against the asset spam decks, you can say, yep, I'm drawing all kinds of cards. I'm going to gain all these extra clicks whenever they're putting down remotes. And if they already have a remote, worst case scenario, I pay 1, I get an immune. Totally worth it. 1-of Astrolabe has been like a thing for Shapers since the cards come out. So I remember when it did come out, people were like, "Oh, cool! Finally, I have a Shaper console that I want to play. I always get something good from it. I get an Akamatsu Mim chip that draws me cards." This is just the Anarch version of Astrolabe, and I don't really want to play it. I think I think in my like, hey, I got 2 slots. Let's try something fun. I got 4 or 5 cards I can maybe put in here and mix it up. This is on the list of things that would be cool to play. Like maybe as a 1 or 2. If I get it, awesome. If not, I get the side benefit of it. But yeah, ultimately, I was kind of disappointed, which was kind of surprising to me. Because I have been actively trying to make this work, and in the game I did get it down at, it was doing something, but by then the Corp had like 40 credits. It was the outfit the car was talking about mentioned. Like they had so much money, it didn't matter that I was costing them 1. So
well, here's the thing. I think part of your frustration is that this card looks like it could be good in any Anarch deck, but I just don't think it is. I think that first line of text is often not going to be relevant, and you're not going to get it at a time when it's relevant. I do think, though, and Vincent pointed this out in chat, which I think is great, that this card does have a use, and I think that is in particular styles of Reina decks. I think Reina has the greatest opportunity to take advantage of this card. I've been seeing Reina decks running around every so often recently, using cards like Lamprey, Clone Ship, Corporate Grant, all these effects that are draining the Corp of credits, and now you've got another option for that deck that maybe isn't the best option, but if your game plan is already to get them low, this is another option to pressure a server that they're certainly not going to be protecting very heavily, and could eke you out a credit differential in that kind of headlocky situation. So in that particular style of deck, I think this is worth a look. Outside of that, I'm not convinced.
Great review.
I think it's just neat to know that.
Here's a comparison. I'll see how this. Would you rather run this card or Skulljack to deal with asset spam?
Jesus. I mean,
are you about to hate on Skulljack right now?
I'm not hate. I'm asking an honest question. Which is better?
I don't know. I just don't. Probably Skulljack? I don't know.
Says a lot about this card.
Yeah, like it's kind of sucks, right? Because I really want to say that it's nice to know that we have an additional possible response if you really hated asset spam, and you're like, I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want this to ever be a problem for me ever again. Then I can see you saying, I just want to prevent like asset spam from having this game plan. But the problem is asset spam decks aren't winning with a ton of credits. Like if you think about how they advance agendas, you really don't, or how you advance agendas, the number of credits you need is actually, in my opinion, fairly low to advance agendas, right? You're going to have big eyes, sure. But like there's cards, you're going to have big eyes, like cards that are expensive. You're going to have Tobuth and Inlazua and all this stuff like that. But in the grand scheme of things, when you think about the number of credits those decks make when they get rolling, when you think about the pad campaign, and I mean, and the fact that we're getting 3 from, I mean, it just seems like it's a drop in the bucket comparatively to me.
Let me put a final nail in this coffin for you. Let me just point out this thing because I think it's so funny. The optimal state for this card, right, is early game and the corpse on no money, right? Because you're like, sweet, I got them locked. Guess what? This card is not an additional cost. So Corp on 0 can make a new server, and they're still on 0.
Yeah.
It's just spam assets, and it doesn't stop them.
Right.
I can't believe this conversation has gone on for as long as it has with Hijack Router. And my thing was like two lines piggybacking off Alec.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty passable.
Well, okay, man. Hijack Router. Give it a look if you're in Reina. Otherwise, don't bother. All right. Here's an interesting one for you. I'm curious what you gentlemen think about Cradle. It's our new Anarch decoder. It's 4 install, 1 MU, 5 strength. Holy cow, 3 influence. But it's got -1 strength for each card in your grip. And then the way more expensive version of a previous card, 2 credits, break any number of code gate subroutines. Gosh, where have we been? This used to cost 0. I couldn't fathom paying 2 credits to break any number of code gate subroutines. Preposterous.
I think this card is really, really awesome. When you see the design space for the rest of this, you know, of the Anarch cards in this cycle, where all it wants to do is keep your hand size low. But outside of that little design space and that thread that ties all of this shit together, this is garbage.
So when I saw this card, I don't know why I thought of this, but there is a old DMX movie that was called Cradle to the Grave.
Oh. I don't know, for some reason Exit Wounds came in. I thought, I'm like, is this going to be a Seagal quote or something?
Bye, Hollis. So, and I thought of that mainly because my brain operates 90% on puns. But the other 10% had a really interesting point of, yeah, if I play this card and I want to be optimal, I want to run with no cards in hand.
Jet Li. Oh yeah, I remember
Right?
now.
Boom. See, it's a real movie. I'm sure it's fine. So, yeah, your Cradle is a card that's supposed to synergize with Nat, and it's supposed to be a cool Yogg thing. I think if you playing Cradle and you want to try to play optimally, you're probably gonna die. Cradle to the grave.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, you know, there's no way that you can get this and break DNA tracker. With
Nope.
help.
First one that came to my mind right there, and that's why, boom, done.
Yeah.
See
So,
ya.
I mean, to play this optimally, you really want an Ice Carver and a Cradle and no cards in hand and go. I think Cradle is going to be really, really good at 3, maybe 4 or lower code gates, and then you have a David backup. That is the only way I can see playing this card. Maybe you do that in your Nat deck, and you play this as a one of, just to break some like super expensive stuff for Black Orchestra. Maybe
A different
But
time,
at
a different
that
time,
point-
a different place, man. This is
Yeah. That's the only defense I can think of it. You're really only playing this card if you're like, no, I'm committed. I am on the no hand strategy.
You know what? Like I said, like maybe going back, this would have been awesome, cool design. As like, you know, maybe Yogg should have been like this from the start to have some kind of downside to breaking all of the routines and tied in somewhere like this. But right now, in the state of the game, having some, you know, some code gates that are meaty, scary, and can put the hate on you, you're not going to be wanting to play with this energy. And you already have a great decoder in faction that does so much more for you. So why play with this?
And at the same time, Kakugo exists. You don't have any cards in hand? Can you take 1 net damage? Anansi exists. Surprise Anansi. Take 4 net damage. You know, you have no cards in hand. Cradle to the grave. You're welcome.
Every time. The Cradle to the grave.
91% of Google users liked Cradle from the Grave. But it's got 25% on Rotten Tomatoes, 36% on Metacritic, and a 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb.
Right.
This is discrepancy,
I'm like
man.
90% sure.
That's discrepancy.
I'm like 90% sure this movie Jet Li runs up to a billiards table, jumps up, with 1 foot kicks a ball up, and with the other foot comes across and kicks it, and it hits a guy in the face and kills him.
Yeah.
That is in this movie.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Clearly classic. Clearly. Didn't hurt his foot at all. It's fine. It's not like they're heavy or anything.
2003.
I'm just gonna say I think that this exists for a style of play that I don't think will come to fruition.
No.
And so it makes it. That's the problem. That's the problem.
It would have been awesome with the cards that were coming out in the next data pack.
No, you didn't just.
That's your one per episode.
No, I got.
I can't believe you said that.
I got many and more of those lines.
So yeah, that's all I can really say about it. It's not very good.
Yeah. Yep.
But man, what if Cypher wasn't banned? I tell you what.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Cypher. I'd love the hell out of this.
So
that would too, because it makes you discard a card.
So when it comes to the Anarchs, are you guys ready to see the last Anarch card that shall be printed?
Oh, it's a doozy. It's
terrified.
Pretty cool. Check it out.
How are we going out? How are we going out, people?
I'd say with something pretty interesting. So this is
That
a
doesn't
unique
give people hope.
resource location, unique District 99.
We're going out seedy.
CD location. Oh man, get excited! It's
Shout out.
3 to install.
Shout out
3 input.
to the CD
Yep,
location.
There you go.
Hey,
It says,
CD.
the first time each turn a program or piece of hardware is trashed from any location, your hand, the board, your deck, wherever, you may place 1 power counter on District 99. Oh boy, get your helium-3s ready. You can spend a click and 3 hosted power counters to add a card that matches the faction of your identity from your heap to your grip.
And you're like, what?
Yeah. No, you're like, I want that. I want to play that.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
If Hollis's review on this card is just a shot of his shirt, might say no more.
Here's my shirt. No.
So Hollis, District 99. Would you play Guinea Pig so you would trash a whole bunch of stuff so you could trigger your District 99?
I hate you so much. I hate that you have this power over me right now, dude. Okay, so I dig this as a neat thing, right? Like it obviously this card synergizes with a hell of a lot of a hell of a appropriate amount of cards that we've seen thus far, right? It synergizes with Patchwork, obviously, because it means, hey, I'm gonna be trashing some things anyway. Let me get a discount to install other cards. It synergizes with Guinea Pig. It synergizes with in general, it just synergizes with keeping your hand down with cards using Nathaniel. And what I like is that it's basically saying, hey, do you want to take a risk and trash a few more cards that aren't cards that you can easily recover? That's fine. You can get them back. You can trash the liberated accounts right now. David, exactly what you said earlier. You can trash the liberated accounts right now to make sure your daily cast is played here at 1. And now that credit's rolling in, this card's in play, you generate a couple counters. Hey, get your liberated back. You might just bring it back. You got some counters on it. You're not afraid. Don't be scared. Get it back.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Get your David back.
Yeah.
So I've seen this. I've seen install David run on a remote early just to make sure they could get in. You get in, you spend your whole David to break a Fairchild or something. Later on, you just slap down a data sucker, trash your David. Then you build up your District 99 by doing that, by overinstalling your programs. You're trashing it. That puts another counter on it. When you need to go again, you go, cool, District 99, install David, go again.
That's so good. That's sick. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, David.
Here's the other.
I mean, people play Trope, so they'll probably play this.
I'm so proud of you, David.
There you go. Here's the other thing I really like about this card. At 3 influence, it's a pretty compelling argument to try and splash this out of certain other out-of-faction decks. Specifically, I'm thinking about Geist, and I'm thinking about Haley. Both of them are already doing things that trash programs and hardware and have stuff that they'd love to be able to recur. Put it in one District 99, you find it early enough, and you could get a huge number of power counters on that thing and start doing some pretty gross recursion.
Oh, man. Aesop's Pawn Shop, dude.
Yeah. Why not? Just keep the train going. You know, I think this is really powerful. The fact that it's any card type that you can get back gives you so much flexibility to just have this amazing draw. And I really like that it's the faction of your identity because it limits the amount of, you know, out of faction power card kind of splashy stuff. But I still think there's a lot of power there. So I like it. I don't think you run 3 of unless you've got a very specific strategy. I don't even know about 2, but I don't know.
It's like
1.
District 97. The first time each turn a program or piece of hardware is trashed, add a power counter. Click 3 power counters, add a card from your heap to your grip. They're like, oh shit, that's kind of probably overpowered. District 98 says trash 3 hosted power counters, add a card that matches your faction identity from the heap to the grip. People are like, you kind of killed it too much. District 99, so now you can trash it from any location. They're like, seems balanced. We've put enough words on the card by now.
This is the 99th district we've made, guys. Can we just pick one?
Yeah.
Right? I forgot about the Jameson philosophy, right? If it has too many words on it, it's probably not good,
like you can really see in there how they tried to balance this thing out, right? Like, and I think it's gonna have its uses, it's gonna have its cool things, but I don't think it's gonna be something that's gonna be here, there, and everywhere. I'd be interested to see how Max players, take this into account, since you're pretty much, if you can get this down early enough, you're going to see good value on that. I do like the fact that what Alec was saying is that it's probably a lot more interesting out of faction than it is in faction.
Yeah. So as a deck builder, I think it's a really interesting tool that you could consider, is it worth that influence? And here's the other thing I want to say. I've been a big proponent for a while of running Career Fair in a lot of decks. I really love that card. And I think it gives you a lot of flexibility to play a lot of more expensive resources. But one of the issues I run into when I build decks with Career Fair is, do I have enough targets that I'm reliably going to draw a target and a Career Fair in the same hand and be able to get use out of it? So having another card come along that's a really compelling resource that costs exactly what it needs to match up with Career Fair, that makes me really happy. So I dig it for that reason as well.
Yeah, now you're playing Patchwork over your Career Fairs anyway, so.
Uh-oh, more value. Watch out. Yeah, I think it's good.
I think it's okay. I think it's a lackluster way to end Anarch. There should have been like a whole burn the world down card in there somewhere.
We never got a card that's text is hack the planet.
Yeah.
Kind of is.
Damn.
So,
and we never saw Guru. He never made that appearance, man.
You guys are making me sad. You guys are.
We did get a replacement for Deja Vu with this.
Yeah.
So it's neat that if you look through here, you can kind of see the rehashing of stuff. The last 2 cards is a rehash of Yogg and Deja Vu. And one of them is okay.
Yeah,
you're not gonna. You'd say that. You say it rehashes Deja Vu. My whole comparison with this was to Trope, just in a different style.
Yeah. Trope, Deja Vu, this, all from the same.
Yeah. Very interesting way, Mr. Boggs, to put your touch on the Anarch faction. You've definitely given us peaks and valleys here.
David, as our resident Anarch player, how do you feel about the Reign and Reverie options for the entirety of the faction?
I'm very happy that there's a runner that puts another interesting twist on it. Anarch runners are, super unique to me anyway, where you're probably got a different game plan based on who you are, a little more than most factions. Max is going to play completely differently than Valencia is going to play, than, Quetzal's going to play. Nat adds a whole another layer. You're going to start looking at cards that you may have not thought about before. Like, hey, 2 or 3 turns a game, I can trigger this empty mind. What can I do with that? What can I do with that extra click? I got a 40 card deck. I don't have to include, 9 draw cards to make sure I get everything I need. I got a 40 card deck. I don't have to play Black Orchestra and MK Ultra. I can play something else because I can more reliably get it. Stuff like that is really interesting to me. I like that there's another multi-access. I like that there's money options. I'm really happy with how the faction ended. It ended with cards that just added to the cool gameplay. I've been Anarch since the start. I remember the days where the best Anarch runner was Andromeda, right? It was not an Anarch. I was there and I felt that, and I still remember that all the cards in my faction don't work because there's too many combos to think about for them to work. And now to end on this, it's not the super uppercut combo to win. It's like a jab, and that wins you the fight. So yeah, you still win, but it wasn't as cool as you thought it would be. So
man, in the entire lifespan of the game, this is the section that Anarch was not dominant. This is the section that Anarch was dominant.
No, dude, come on. It was like 3 years in a row of Andromeda craziness. Anarch has taken off since Noise was retired.
Look at
from then on, Anarch has been the best. I'm not sure that's been.
I tilted him. Look at him go. Look at him. He's never seen him off his game before. Now he's all flustered.
Got him.
No. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with how it ended. This is I've said before, this is something that's not gonna. I knew this was something that wasn't gonna last forever. It's been an awesome run. I'm really happy with the cool new toys we got at the end to play because it's making me think outside the box. So yeah, I really dig.
And I mean, for everyone else, I would say that you can just sit there on Netrunner DB and hit refresh and wait for your Cradle to the Grave deck to come out because it'll include. You'll find some way to exploit Cradle in this District 99 that will be some kind of janky super game breaking deck.
Yeah. So yes, I'm pretty happy.
That's mine. Hollis, what do you got to say? District 99 closing Anarch.
I kind of feel like the sentiment shared about parts of the Anarch faction that never really got fleshed out completely, and we won't get to see fleshed out. I feel the way about a lot of the factions or sub ideas in within the factions across the board, right? Like, obviously, you don't want to go into the full detail, but as an example, there's a couple. There's some weird shaper breakers where, I don't think they ever quite hit their mark where they needed to be as far as the kind of breakers they were, right? And same thing with Criminal. I feel like if we're looking in Anarch, it might have been nice to see some additional cards that were going to help you prevent damage, but only, imagine a card that prevented damage you would take, net or meat, but only if you had no cards in hand. Specific cards that had that, cards that prevent taking damage, but were very, very specific to that strategy. Hey, when I play the game, my goal is to get rid of my hand completely and go balls to the wall, but I have a couple safety nets, or maybe even one safety net, so that I can handle a card like Obokata. I can handle a card like blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. But not, introducing these... it's sort of a bad thing to say because I don't think it's ever good to tell someone to restrict design space, but maybe knowing the longevity of the game was nearing that end, it might have been not a bad idea to restrict it to existing concepts that had already been worked on a little bit. Like, I kind of might have preferred to see more breakers related to null, maybe give null another try, without having cipher. Or cipher, whatever. But I don't know. I just feel like trying to introduce this new mechanic or this new concept into the game with a new runner is cool, but we don't really get all the tools that would make it amazing. And if anything, I feel like it leaves us wanting more tools to say, hey, does this idea ever get fleshed out in a way that changes the game, that changes the way that we think we can approach Netrunner, and in general would appeal to the players that want to try something totally different. They want to make those thematic, because there are players out there that want to make the thematic decks. And I don't even think there's enough to really do that if you're that kind of player. But in general, I do think we saw some really cool cards. I do think that's the case. I thought some really powerful cards. I'm pretty sure Patchwork is going to get played, right? Like I think we can all agree Patchwork work is going to see play. God, and of course, immediately after I start talking about cards, I accidentally click off. Patchwork is going to see play. I think Divide and Conquer definitely going to see play. Whether Nathaniel gets play as a question mark. With Max and Val being so good, the only way Nathaniel to me sees play, even at a 40-card deck, is you have to have these specific tools for his gimmick be there, and we don't have enough of them. So I mean, I don't know how I don't think I can I don't think I could compare Nathaniel to Val or Max. Cards like District 99 again helps with that, but also District 99 lends itself well to anything. I felt like almost it's not specific, and that's the great thing about District 99, in my opinion, is that it doesn't lend itself only to Nathaniel decks. You can take it and plop it in Criminal, you can plop it in Shaper, and I can guarantee there is a strategy. There's a concept here that might be beneficial when you look at how you build your deck, but it's not just only good with Nathaniel. So I don't know. I think it's pretty good. I think the cards that we've seen for Anarch here are okay. I'm okay with it. We'll see.
Well said.
We're in a pretty good place.
Well said. Well said. You touched on a couple stuff that I'll talk on down the road when we do conclusions. But well said, man. Alec, you got any other closing thoughts? Just to give you a kick at the can.
Yeah, I'll give one quick, slightly unrelated shout out. Folks may have seen a Netrunner census going around online via the Facebook or the Netrunner Reddit. I think this is a really cool opportunity to kind of memorialize some thoughts about the game. You can report your favorite faction, your favorite IDs, your favorite cards, art. It's really cool. I really recommend people check it out, and hopefully the folks running that can get some cool data out of it. I also want to make a plug for one question in particular, which is naming your favorite piece of ice. And I want to say to all the viewers of Bad Publicity, put Lycan as your favorite ice. It's the best ice in the game. Put it on the center. No! You want to get that thing on
the level of betrayal. The level of betrayal.
I have a question. Is Lycan a sentry or
oh my god!
Double vote it.
Everyone.
The level of betrayal.
No way. I think it would just show it.
There is only one best piece of ice, and that is Votan.
There you go.
Oh,
anyway, check out that census. It's pretty cool.
Can I? I did this before we went live, but can I give? And I'll definitely keep it more brief. But can I give a quick real talk? Is that okay? Am I allowed?
Yeah. And before you get into that, then I'll just say on that census, look to see if there's a spot to vote for your favorite webcast that has been running consistently for the entire length of the game. Just look for it.
I'm sure that's on the list.
Yeah. Maybe someone somewhere will give us credit for something.
All right, it's home, Halls.
All
Hopefully
right, just
good publicity.
Good publicity.
Yeah, the good publicity, and there's bad and good publicity here, but this is what I'll say. So, as a lot of you may already know, in some cases, since the game was announced, it was going to be over and done with. Obtaining copies of Reign and Reverie, as well as some of the last few data packs, may have been challenging for some of you. I know that in cases of like Australia, some of my friends from Australia probably won't ever get it, as locally. So I have the luxury of having a local game store that actually sells Netrunner packs, and my friends and I were subscribers to getting packs only at the store. Basically, any and all packs that I ever bought in Netrunner were from that store. So it was incredibly disappointing to find out that once the game was announced it was going to be ending, they decided to go the path of taking all of the Reign and Reverie data deluxe expansions they had that were going to be in store and sell them on eBay for additional profit. And this was knowing that all the players that had played Netrunner in Huntsville since the inception, since we started there at that store, were going to buy and catch up with every single pack. We're going to buy those the latest deluxe expansion. We even had asked ahead of time. Some of us had asked ahead of time to make sure they would have it, and they decided to sell it on eBay for profit. This was this is horrible. It made us really, really upset. And I could talk at length about the negativity it bred for our local game store, but I want to give now a positive shout out to a store in Atlanta called the Gigabytes Cafe. So I was there 2-3 weeks ago with Alec doing commentary for Netrunner in Atlanta, and David, who I had met there, who had basically helped me buy a few other items in the store, hit me up after having a conversation with another Atlanta local named Anthony, and he said, "Hey, I heard that you don't have Reign and Reverie, and I've heard that your store sold them all on eBay. I've got a couple copies. I am willing to sell them to you, obviously, as an actual, as a true store owner, not trying to just gain the biggest profit possible. I'm willing to sell them to you at the cost of the item plus whatever taxes plus shipping." And I said, "Holy crap, Dave, are you serious? That's amazing. I will happily pay more because I understand it's a hard to find item and people are paying more than they should." And Dave said, "Absolutely not. I want you to pay what you should pay for this product." And I sent Dave the money via PayPal, and it arrived at my door like 4 days later, as Dave said. And so I want to just take a second to give a huge shout out to Dave for being such a great person, and huge shout out to Gigabytes Cafe for doing something so generous and making sure that the consumer in this instance, for me as a fan of Netrunner, was taken care of. They could have easily taken that box and made 4 times the amount of money they made off of selling it to me, and instead they said, no, it's more important that the fans of the game have access to this. It's not just to turn a profit. So thank you, Gigabytes Cafe. Also, I don't blame anybody for trying to make a profit. I'm just saying, it's nice to know that Dave was looking out for me. Thank you so much, guys. Gigabytes Cafe, Marietta,
Georgia.
Gigabytes Cafe. Thanks, Dave.
Nice.
So one last thing is who of us is going to Gen Con? I don't know if we actually discussed that yet. Is it just me?
I will not be.
Yeah, probably just you now, man.
Okay.
Wrap it up.
Cool. Well, if you see me, say hello. Enjoy beating me in Netrunner. I'll probably be playing some fun stuff. Enjoy your wins. So yeah, hopefully we get a nice crowd out to play at Gen Con. I'll have a little report, I think, afterwards of going even. We'll try to go 4-4 or 5-5, however many we have. That's always the goal, and we'll reach that baseline and see what happens. So yeah, looking forward to going and seeing the usual crowd, saying hello to everybody, and hopefully have a nice report for you in like a couple weeks or so.
Cool.
Sounds excellent. So there you have it, guys. Signing off. This maybe won't be the last time we talk about Anarch cards, but it's pretty damn close to. Till next time. Catch you all on the Muppet Show.
See everyone.
See.